It's been a really, really long time since Doom Patrol's had new episodes. Almost a year between the first half of Season 4 and the second half of Season 4. And during the time, the show was actually cancelled, which I was really upset about. But luckily, we'll have a few more episodes before the show actually ends. And despite, for some reason, episodes 7 and 8 both being out, the country I live in only had episode 7 out. Therefore, I had to find episode 8 via non-legal means. Yes, I pirated it, and I'm admitting it, because why not? Okay, there's a lot of reasons why not, but I'm going to admit it regardless. The second half of the season seems to be returning the friendship between Madame Rouge and Rita Farr. Something I am really happy to see because their friendship, at the same time, still has plenty of tension, is hilarious. When they got drunk and started sharing petty pranks to each other, and when they went into the other world, trying to help their team, but were just making noise and racket. And despite the fact there was a lot of humor in that, there was also a lot of emotion when Rita confessed that she didn't really have much remorse about having accidentally killed Wally. Or she thought she killed Wally. I thought it was just a great detail as it drew attention to how Rita's emotions really do create the issues that prevent her from becoming a superhero. Not just because she's very vulnerable to her emotions, but because of the fact that she sometimes doesn't really have the best moral code. Something that Madame Rouge definitely knows a lot about. Who, when drunk, was calling her a serial killer, which made me laugh. And I am really enjoying their friendship, and I do hope that this friendship gets to continue for the rest of the season. And unfortunately, that's all it's going to be, because the show got cancelled. So after this season, we'll never see it again. I'm so salty about this. But regardless, we're trying to stay positive, and as of right now, I am really enjoying the Rita and Madame Rouge dynamic again. I did when they also were not friends, too, but I do enjoy them being friends, I think, a little bit more than them being enemies. Next is Cliff and Jane. I love their father-daughter relationship. But I'm with Jane on that being Cliff should have been smarter than fall for their shared dream. And I don't really understand what was being promised to Cliff. He'd get to see his grandson grow up, but we already know that isn't what's going to happen when Immortus takes over, as we had seen that in the future. Therefore, Cliff making this deal technically does the exact opposite of what he thinks it does. And I think that Jane was very much right that Cliff knows better, because we've spent 4 seasons with Cliff, and I think Cliff should have been smarter than falling for this trap. But I will give him this, the trap was very sweet. I love the moment that we saw that his grandson had taken the microphone in the grocery store. It was cute, and there was definitely a lot of fallout between Jane and Cliff in episode 8, where I do think that Cliff kind of made it up for what he did, that being that he gave up his longevity. As for Larry, although he didn't really do much, I did like what he got to do. We saw that he viewed Keeg like a son of his, and refused to let another kid of his down, considering that one of his sons is dead and the other one hates him. And I also like the idea that he has a bit of PTSD and what has happened to him and the people that he's cared about. That being both having someone that he is intended to be the father of, as well as having a romantic relationship. This time around of who he seems to be Mr. 104, which I never saw coming. But oddly, it really works, especially because Mr. 104 is one of the few people that can actually touch Larry without dying. And Mr. 104 is a lot more powerful than I ever thought he was. I mean, okay, he always was powerful in the comics, but he never did anything. He just sat around and forgot that he had powers. That being until he died. But on this show, Mr. 104 really, I think, shines. And because of that, it really boosts Larry as a character as well because of his storyline. Not saying Larry wasn't already boosted, but he gets boosted even more because of Mr. 104. And I think both actors are doing a great job, and they both have so much chemistry with one another, it really works. If this show ever got a season 5, I would hope Mr. 104 would be a main character. But considering the show got cancelled, which I'm still salty about, that will never happen. Is that toxic of me to point out? Well, not really toxic, but definitely salty of me to point out. I was also really, really happy that Victor finally stood up for himself against his friend. Because ever since he got rid of his tech, his friends and his father have been just dismissing his reasonings for why he did it, as well as belittling him for it, and just judging the crap out of him. So I'm so happy Victor finally stood up for himself and said, no, I didn't do it for you, I did it for me. And he was really nice about the way he did it too. I would have been a lot meaner, But Victor definitely was a very nice person the way he called them out for being mean to him. Well, not necessarily mean, but very judgmental towards him. Because despite them wanting him to be a superhero, he doesn't want to be a technological person, as in a cyborg. But he's still a hero. He is tech support for the Doom Patrol, but also very clearly can get his hands dirty in the field, which I think he should do more. He really impressed me with how good he was at fighting, that being hand-to-hand. To the point where I think if he had just a little more training, he really could just be a hero or a superhero without any of the armor or technology he had. Also, Rita, I guess, was kind of judgmental towards him, but I don't think it was because of the same reasons. She was more worried about his well-being rather than him being a superhero, while his dad and friends were just straight up judgmental towards him. It was also great to see Dorothy again, and I'm really happy that Dorothy is back for the final season of the show. I think her friendship with Space Case is a great idea, because I think Dorothy really needed a friend that wasn't a monster. And even though that Space Case is technically not a real person, she very clearly is more real than, like, say, Candlemaker. And Space Case is a very cool addition to the show. I really like the fact that the character talks like she is actually a comic book character. And her powers are very visually stunning. She doesn't use them that much, but they are very cool to witness. And that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!